welcome to our spoiler review of Wicked King. We kept trying to film this review and things just kept coming up. We meant to have it like released for like the beginning of January, and here we are. We loved reading this book. We actually got our hands on it, both sat down, and we both read it as fast as we could. And usually when we say we're excited for books, we're like, oh, we're so excited, oh my god, I've got my hands on it.
And then we don't touch it for 8 months, and then we don't film it for another 3.
We're bad fans.
Yeah, that's just what happens when you get old.
Wicked King basically picks up where Cruel Prince left off, and you have Cardan on the throne, and then you have Jude picking up after him as his chancellor. And they have like a very rocky relationship. Cardan trusts Jude. Despite the fact that she has betrayed him by setting him up as king, he kind of gets her plan, and he likes kind of where she's going with it.
He also kind of likes the fact that he's king so he can do whatever the hell he wants, and that Jude is there to clean up the mess, and he likes to test his boundaries.
But like at the end of the day, he trusts that Jude isn't going to royally fuck him over.
Yeah, that the kingdom's not going to fall apart.
Yeah, the kingdom's not going to fall apart, and she's probably not going to kill him.
But it might be killing her, because the amount of stress that she's under is really starting to manifest in everything about her.
And you have, like, on the throne trying to control Cardan, she's trying to control all her plots, and she's, like, finding it difficult.
And on top of that, she's trying to figure out what she's gonna do when her control ends, and how she's gonna keep him in line.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Because she's, like, 6 months into Cardan's reign, and he only promised to obey her for a year and a day.
Not to mention, she is also slowly poisoning herself. Because just in case, you know, someone tries to offer with poison. So she has this regiment of poisons she takes. She's been giving, like, Cardan rules that hopefully will carry over when the bond is broken, like trying to get him to agree to stuff. Like, you have to admire her tenacity.
And on top of that, her father is slowly starting to catch on to the fact that she isn't the easiest opponent to go up against. And eventually in this book, he overhears her commanding Cardan, and he realizes that she's actually got him sworn to her service. He's like, oh shit. Oh, you're good, girl. You're good. I'm gonna fuck with you.
And then there was the splintered relationship with her twin when Taryn comes back into her life and, like, it's like, hey, you should take better care of yourself. Why don't I get you new clothes? And you, the reader, are like, this is not suspicious. Not at all. And her wedding to Locke is coming up, and she wants Jude back in her life to be a part of the wedding, and she wants them to bring back their brother who they shipped out of Fairy to the wedding. Like,
yeah.
You spent so much time and effort getting him out of that house and away from Maddox, but now you insist on him coming back to the wedding, which does not sound like a scheme at all.
Of course, Vivian is going to come to the wedding, and she's going to bring Oak, and she's also going to bring her girlfriend, the human.
Yikes. And so that's an interesting kind of, like, play on the whole Vivian always looked out for her human sisters in Fairy, but doesn't really have an idea of how Fairy can screw with a human, so she's bringing her girlfriend into this situation, and one doesn't even tell her she's a fairy until right before when they drop the glamour, and it's, surprise, Oak has horns, I have cat eyes, woo!
She's like, it'll be fine, and, like, Jude's like, dude, you have told her nothing. You've barely armed her, like, or given her charms or anything. Like, she is not going to be okay. And Vivian's like, it'll be fine.
And the girlfriend has a run-in.
We're fine.
Has a run-in with the fairy who gives her cat ears, and it's horrifying and awful. And Vivian doesn't realize that maybe, like, compelling her to forget that it happened is not the best way to, like, smooth it over.
Obviously, the girlfriend freaks out, and she's like, oh my god, like, take me home right now. I do not want to be here. This place is insane. And Vivian's like, no, don't leave. Forget.
So, you know, that'll come back to bite her in the ass.
I mean, Vivian's not, like, a terrible person, so when they do get back home, she does, like, let her remember, but it's like, once you've done that terrible thing, there's no going back. And then Vivian, of course, has this crisis because she's like, is this what this was like for you growing up? I did nothing! What the hell?
Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah! So that was, like, an interesting relationship, and I think maybe Vivian's gonna be more prominent in the next book, so I'm really excited for that.
Then there's one of the whole festivals, because Cardan, in kind of like a a challenge almost to Jude, like, look, I can undermine your authority, makes Locke the king of revels. And so Locke starts throwing these parties, and in one of them they kind of bring out this ritual where they choose a mortal girl to be the queen of the party, and they choose Jude, and the whole thing is that as the party goes on, all of the fairies kind of convince her to do awful things, but the human woman is compelled, so she doesn't realize how awful it actually is. She's having a great old time, but Jude can't be compelled, and she can't let anyone know that she can't be compelled because that's one of her big secret pieces of armor. So she has to fake along with this whole awful scenario.
So they'll give her a dress made of like dead spiders, and they'll be like, look, it's your glorious gown, and then the queen of the party will be like, oh my god,
I've never
it's
worn something
fantastic.
as pretty as this.
Yes. Don't I look fabulous? And they'll be like, oh, look at this bitch.
And what you don't realize is this is foreshadow because you thought this was bad. Well, Jude ends up getting kidnapped by the queen of the Undersea. And if you thought wearing a shitty, like, spider leg dress was bad enough, being tortured and having to act like you want it
is crazy.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
The big bad of this series is the queen of the Undersea, who is Nicassia's mother. And Nicassia's mother had a peace treaty with Cardan's father for the longest time, where they weren't going to attack each other and everything was going to be fine. Now that Prince Cardan's father's dead, the queen of the Undersea is like, I see some loopholes and this guy looks pretty weak. What can I do here? And so she's threatening war if Cardan doesn't agree to some outrageous terms, or if he doesn't marry Nicassia. Now, Nicassia is all for marrying Cardan. She's still in love with him, but Cardan's like, nah.
I forget what happened to them, but there was something in the first, like, she betrayed him or something.
Oh, okay, so what happened in the first book was Cardan and Nicassia were together, and then Locke was like, ooh,
right,
that looks fun. So he ended up convincing Nicassia that he was in love with her, and then she falls in love with Locke, and then she leaves Cardan, and then Locke dumps her because he's like, fun's over.
Woo.
And Cardan never kind of
gets over that.
Forgave her for that.
Yet he's still okay with Locke.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
Basically, Jude knows that the Queen of the Undersea is going to be striking, but she doesn't know how. She's sure, she figures that he's going to strike during the wedding when Oak is there, because, you know, Oak's a great way to, like, get some leverage, but that never happens. And she's pretty sure that that's going to involve Prince Balkan, who is in fairy jail.
So, sidebar about the wedding. I really liked the wedding, the one wedding tradition where the vows aren't said in front of anything because they're private vows made between the future, like, spouses.
It's really cool. It's kind of just like a contract.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can't lie, so you promise something, it's actually a thing. So, you know, you can promise that we will be married until the sun turns blue, or just, like, we will be married until this person gives birth, or, like, anything you goddamn want. And it's just kind of like, that's a fairy marriage. That's gonna happen. I love it.
And for his bachelor party, Locke and co, like, go all wild hunt Jude in the forest one time, which was terrifying.
That was awful.
Yeah.
That was a pretty terrifying scene. And she thought it was Undersea, but it turns out it was Locke.
So Jude gets kidnapped by the Undersea. Oh no.
Undersea also springs Prince Balkan like she thought they would, and he becomes their, like, ambassador.
How Jude gets kidnapped is one of her, like, organization, secret group, thieves guild kind of deal betrays her.
His name is Ghost.
Yeah.
So she goes down to Undersea, and Nicassia is obviously hanging out with her mom. They basically, like, physically destroy Jude. They, like, kind of, like, forget to feed her. They forget to give her water. They just kind of glamour her into thinking she's got food to eat and water to drink. So she's sitting there wasting away, and on top of that, she's not getting her daily regimen of poison, which her body was used to, so it's going through, like, a withdrawal thing, and so she's just a mess.
And Cardan is railing to get his, like,
his girl back.
Yeah. So they finally reach a deal. Jude returns. Cardan is all like, oh my god, you left me!
They have this really cute reunion scene because, like, Jude, like, scales the top of the fairy mound and like comes in through the skylight basically and like sneaks into his room. She gets there and he like wakes up and he's like, well, I guess you would have stabbed me already if you were like trying to kill me, so you're probably fine. It's really cute.
And then he's like, we should be married, be my queen. And she's like, I don't want to. And he's like, we should do this. Release me from the thing. And then she does. And then they get it on. And she's the fairy queen. And then they have to go face off. And he betrays her, but I don't think he actually does. I have theories.
So Jude comes back, and Jude's back, and you know, things are good, and they're working on their plans to kind of defeat the Queen of the Undersea. Well, Jude is like distracted at one point. Cardan decides to release Maddox from his bonds of servitude, and Maddox takes half the army and walks away. Jude comes back and she's like, what happened? Why would you do that? Why would you just like release him and half the army? And he's like, you just told me to do that. And she's like, did I compel you to do that? And he's like, no, you just asked and I would give you anything you asked. Like, I want you to trust me, so I was trying to like do what I thought you wanted me to do. She's like, that was Taryn. That was Taryn working for my father, and you just let my father and half the army walk away. And he's like, shit. And so he turns to her and he's like, we can't do this anymore. Like, we can't be working against each other. We have to trust each other. So will you marry me? And she's like, what? Excuse me? Like, marry you? Why would I marry you? And he's like, okay, we've been fighting each other. What needs to happen is we need to work together. And the problem with that is you don't have any power, and the only power you have right now is my vow, which is going to end in like 6 months. So why don't we get married? You can be the Queen of Fairy. I will be the King of Fairy. We'll have equal power. And, you know, you just release me from my bond. And she's like, fuck it, why not?
And also there's the whole, like, she's had all this power all this time, but she hasn't been in the spotlight. So no one really knows that she has all of this control. And this would be like, all of Fairy would have to bow down to her. This would be her ultimate dream. She has, like, one of the highest stations in court.
And she could finally step into the spotlight and really show them what she's worth, rather than like pulling the strings in the shadow. And so she's like, fine, let's do it. And so they agree to be married until Oak becomes king or they decide otherwise. And so they get married. So then they go off to defeat the Queen of the Undersea. She is like, hey, I've got all this power over the land, look at this. And she starts trying to flood the land. And then Cardan's like, oh, really?
Well, there's land under the sea.
Yeah. So he starts like boiling the land under the sea and like almost basically killing people under the sea. And she's like, okay, fine. Clearly we need this peace truce. No problem.
He takes Nicasia as a political, like, hostage. He doesn't get Jude to declare she's queen. He exiles her for betraying him.
Yeah. So he exiles Jude for betraying him in front of everybody, and she's like, you can't betray me.
I'm the queen.
And then everybody starts laughing, and he says nothing. And you're like, oh shit, dude. Oh shit, he finally got the jump on you.
I don't remember exactly what his wording was for, like, the exiling. Like, you can't step foot into Fairy until a certain point. But it's kind of obvious that it's like, we need to get you out of Fairy because you need to be with Oak. And so my theory is there's no way that he can, like, draw her out of Fairy. He has to, like, force her out. Because with Maddox on the loose and other people vying probably to kill Oak.
Like, he's got plans. He clearly has plans.
He's learned a little bit since he started.
But poor Jude is just like, oh, fuck, I put my trust in the wrong person.
And so she feels super betrayed, and so then we just cut to her, like, lying on Vivian's couch, like, super depressed, and Vivian is super depressed because her girlfriend's gone, and Oak is happy. Oak is just like, both my sisters.
So it was like a really fun twist ending because you knew she was going to get fucked over, but you just didn't know how, and him like exiling her means that she doesn't have control anymore. I am really excited, and the next book is aptly titled The Queen of Nothing. Alright guys, so that was our spoiler review of The Wicked King. And it was good. It was fun. We both enjoyed it. We both sped through it. We were both like, oh my god, did you see this? So tell us what you think. Tell us what you're excited for. Tell us what your theories are for the final book. And we'll see you later, guys.